Morning, guys. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Very good. So there's a couple of things we'll do this morning before we go back into some content. The first thing I'd like to do... Yeah, why not? Can we have a mic ready, please? The first thing I'd like to do is just throw the floor open in terms of any questions you might have in terms of the material we've covered so far or anything like that. So anyone have any questions, comments, anything like that? Just stand up and it'll be easy to get the mic to you then.
Test. Question, will you be handling the technique of confusion and fractionation today?
No. It goes beyond what we're doing here. And what I'm going to try to do here is create a simple and as robust a process of influence using conversational hypnosis as possible. It doesn't mean that confusion is not a good thing. It's a great thing. And fractionation, again, is a very useful process. Believe it or not, you've been doing fractionation throughout. I'll give you the quick version of fractionation. Instead of doing one big thing where you're trying to fix everything at once, just do lots of little ones. You know how you have had lots of little 1-minute trances? You're better off doing 5 1-minute trances than 1 10-minute trance. Do you get the idea? Especially if you're doing them over a period of time as well. So that's the fractionation side of it. The confusion side, well, unless it's handled properly, it'll confuse you more than them. So I'd rather focus on something that you can take home and be totally clear on, and we'll leave things like confusion for some more advanced course, all right? Go ahead.
Yeah, yesterday you said that you can use conversational hypnosis and direct hypnosis like in stage shows. Would you be able to give us a demonstration with that?
Do a stage show?
Yeah, like
Well,
conversational hypnosis and direct hypnosis, mixing them together like.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to because I don't tend to do that. The direct version of it is basically when you tell someone to give an instruction. Would you all just stand up for a moment, please? There you go. Have a sit down again.
I was thinking
Happy
using conversational hypnosis and then striking it to a direct one, like do a pattern interrupt.
I'm not sure what you're thinking of. It really, the way I think about this whole thing is conversation hypnosis or even direct hypnosis or any other form of influence, it's a tool, right? You use it when you need it. I'm not an entertainer in terms of like, I have done some street hypnosis, I have done a stage show too, not just because I wanted to have done it, but not for any other reasons. I don't really, that's not my area of interest, shall we say, right? So yes, you can be very entertaining with this stuff, and by all means do so. That's what the street hypnosis DVDs and stage hypnosis DVDs are about. But if you want to be influential, which is what I'm more interested in, then you use a tool that's appropriate at the time, right? If something as simple as saying, please stand up, does it, that's pretty straightforward, that's pretty direct, then why would I do anything else?
Just build on it.
Say again?
Just build on it then.
Exactly, just build on it. Otherwise, I would do exactly what you've been doing so far, which is to realize, you know, there's a number of things you've learned here so far, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully you've enjoyed at least some of them, and they've been of use to you, right? So why on earth would you not want to just use those and then give them something direct to do and say, well, you can do this now. It's a much simpler process. I'm not entirely sure what you were thinking of when you were asking the question in terms of what you were looking for.
I think I was like more of other training that I did with mind-bending language, which one of the things you say that you can use it like in stage hypnosis.
I see. So you're asking more about
like
how to create the more instant sort of like spins and get people into like these quick trances and so on, right?
Covert and then direct hypnosis.
Sure. That's going more towards the first question, which is how to use more kind of confusional language and so on. Mind-bending language is a specialty niche, so if I started opening that can today, I would be doing you all a huge disservice.
I've been in trance for weeks with that, but I'm just saying, what would have been you look on the features of the person to switch to direct or,
Oh, I see. No, I don't think of it in terms of, look at a person and go, oh, he's someone I'm going to be direct with, and oh, better be indirect here. To me, it's one simple question. The only question I ask myself is this. How active is their critical factor? Right? If the critical factor is pretty open and accepting, then I can be pretty direct about it, right? I can say something as simple as, sit down for a moment, close your eyes, and feel good. That's pretty direct, isn't it? Right? And look at the smile on his face. Do I need anything else? Do I have to do something complex like, aside from all the ways you've been feeling before, go inside and feel even better than the stuff you haven't done yet, and go into the past and in the future, you can look back on yourself, being the most amazing person. It's going like, what the...
That's it.
Right?
That's the one.
That's the one.
That's the one.
But it's useless in this context because it's a tool designed to fix a certain context that isn't present. Right? Think of it this way. If I try to hammer a nail onto my wall so I can hang a picture up using a sledgehammer, I can do it, but it'll be a lot more effort. It's a tool designed to do a certain job, right? What mind-bending language does is it very quickly gets people unstuck when they're stuck in a mindset. Very quickly it does that. If you don't have that mindset, can you use mind-bending language? Well, clearly you can. But you may end up making things worse for yourself. I'll give you an example of this, if I may. Have you all, hopefully you've all had the experience where you've gone into a store and you want to buy something, a toaster, a TV, an item of clothing. You know exactly what it is you want. You know exactly where it is. You know the price is, and you're very happy with it. All you're going to do is pick it up, take it home. Done. Right? You walk into the store, and an overzealous salesperson comes up and tries to help you and asks you, like, oh, and this, and have you thought of that, and these colors and that. And you get so upset. You get so annoyed with these people, you walk straight out again. So basically, this person has taken an absolute sell, guaranteed, and talked you out of it because they're trying too hard to do it. Does that kind of make sense to you guys? So the danger of what you're asking for then is, if I'm using it just randomly, just because it makes me feel right, if it's fun as I'm using it, I guess that's one thing. But the danger you have if you're using it when it's not necessary is that you'll actually be less influential because you're using a tool that doesn't fit.
So the way I see it is, you see how far is subject with his critical factor,
Yeah.
and then less is more.
Yes, exactly. My general paradigm is, what is the least I can do to get the result that I need, right? And that means sometimes I spend longer with them to kind of warm them up gently. That's what all the H plus was about, the yes says, the piggybacking. Maybe all I need to do is do a revivification, and then I'll just go into that, and I'm done, right?
That's why I think you're the Bruce Lee of hypnosis.
Bruce Lee of hypnosis. Yeah, but it really, that's really the answer. Yes, there is a lot to know about hypnosis. You've obviously seen we have a lot of products here, right? So there's a lot of content to be covered. And that's because, to use your analogy, the Bruce Lee analogy, there's a famous little quote he has, which I think he took from a Taoist saying, which was something along the lines of, before I came to the martial arts, a kick was just a kick, a punch was just a punch. Then I studied the arts, and a kick became more than just a kick, a punch became more than just a punch. Now that I've mastered the arts, a kick is just a kick, and a punch is just a punch. Still. Right? So the reason for having all these different things isn't because you want to use them all at once. That's overkill. It's so, first of all, you have the choice, and secondly, the principles that are elucidated by all these different tactics, approaches, and so on, you can build into a 60-second conversation. It doesn't look anything like those things, but because you're familiar enough with them, you can achieve a lot more with a lot less. So then you go back to minimalism again. You get the idea? Here today, what we've been doing on this weekend together, we have been focusing on what is if I had to have amnesia and forget everything else I know, what are the few things, if I had like a grab bag of hypnotic tools that I could grab with me before the house burns down, what would I choose? Well, you're getting them right now. Number one, it's H+. Absolutely. Number two, is to be able to read where the critical factor is at. You guys are getting pretty good at that now, right? Number three is opening the yes mind so we can shut the critical factor down. Number four, it's dealing with no's, right? We've got a little bit more to do with that still. Number five, once we have that mind open, is how do you lead it somewhere? That's the piggyback principle.
I was just afraid that I was overloaded myself, trying to learn more than I need to, and you just answered that question. Just if you go back to the basics, the rest
Go
is
back
easy.
to the basics. Always go back to the basics. In fact, I'll give you a general bit of advice if you guys are interested in this. You're better off doing something very simple every day than trying to master everything at once. Carry on listening to the other things, because there's something called the priming effect, unconscious priming. And I'll give you an example of unconscious priming. A bunch of students are invited to go into a room. They have to read through a bunch of sentences, maybe make a report on them at the end, and then they leave again, right? Now, what they don't know is that the speed that they take to traverse the corridor to get into this room is being recorded. So they measured how fast to get in, and how long it takes to get out, right? So, two different groups. Group A enter the length of the corridor. I don't know what it is, but let's say it takes them 10 seconds to walk the corridor to get in. It takes them 10 seconds to walk the corridor on the way out, right? No big deal there. Group B takes them 10 seconds to walk in. Takes them about 14 seconds to walk out. What's going on here? Group A, when they were reading through these words, were just little sentences that were really unloaded, had nothing going on in them. Group B had sentences which seemed innocent, but every sentence had one word in it that would associate with old age. That's my wrinkled coat. It's my old hat. I'm going to Florida on holiday. For Americans, you get the idea, right? On the surface, there's no sense of talking about you're an old person, right? But because each sentence had one thing, the only common theme throughout them was old age. What's happened is those people have been primed. They're young students, 18, 19, 20 years old. They've been mentally primed with the concept of old age. So unconsciously, they started behaving older. How fast do old people walk? Do you get the idea? So they physically slowed down, at least temporarily, whilst the priming effect was in place. Now, how might we use this as hypnotists to accelerate our learning process and make it easier? Any ideas? Well, consider this. Let's say you have a really simple hypnotic process you like, an instant induction, let's say. Doesn't matter what it is, right? And you did it every day with 5 people, right? It takes you 5 minutes, a minute a person, and that's it. Now, whilst you're doing this throughout the day, you're listening to more advanced concepts, storytelling, frame control, mind-bending language, conversational hypnosis, and so on, right? Meanwhile, you're still doing your instant inductions. Now, this information is in there somewhere, right? You've been primed in exactly the same way as those students have been primed towards old age. Only you've been primed into having a masterful toolkit of hypnosis. It's got to come out somewhere, provided you don't try too hard. Because when you try too hard, you engage the law of reverse effect. So just by enjoying this simple induction that you know how to do, you'll automatically start adding pre-frames in without realizing it. You might throw in a story or two because you happen to be in the storytelling section. Then again, you might even throw in some mind-bending language and get a little twisty, and they'll go, what? Without you even realizing you're doing it. And that's exactly why you should be doing it that way.
I call that the Florida effect, but I always want to run away from it and do a Bruce Lee like you. So,
well, that's exactly how I did it. I'm serious. I studied the people who I thought were great hypnotists, and I didn't try and analyze them too much until I kind of got in sync with what they were doing. Yes, I did think, absolutely. I've sat down, I've filled out notebooks of ideas and notes and so on. But after I've been doing stuff, if there is a choice between doing hypnosis or studying it, I guarantee you doing hypnosis will get you a lot further. 100%. But if you're doing a little bit, something simple every day, and studying it on the side, and not trying to make that study fit, you're just letting it hang out in your mind somewhere, it'll come out inside what you're doing. I'll give you another example, a personal example. Last summer, I did a private training for mind-bending language for our trainers. We have 24 trainers worldwide who are teaching our courses now, right? And to get their standard up to basically a very high level, I decided to do a private training for my main language, which is a very advanced style of hypnosis. Now, as I was doing that particular training for them, I was also preparing for the advanced Ericksonian hypnotherapy training, which I did later on in Amsterdam at the end of the summer, right? So my days were filled with studying Erickson to get that program into fruition. And of course, I took a week out, 3 days out, to have my trainers come in and work with them, right? Now remember, I'm teaching them mind-bending language, which, as you know, it seems nothing like Ericksonian hypnosis, right? Well, guess what happened in the training? Half of them were like hands up like here, just spacing out, having these deep trances and all the rest of it. All the Erickson stuff was coming out, and I didn't even intend it. You see where I'm going with this? So your best bet, if you want to make life easy, is listen to the different products with enthusiasm, because that counts. Think about it, fantasize about it, let your mind run away with you, but don't attempt to do it. Do something you're comfortable doing. And the priming effect will automatically ensure that elements of that come through. Now, once you have similar elements coming through consistently, then you can start trying to do it because you already have unconscious competence. You get the idea?
That's the phenomenon you achieve anyway when you get your courses. That comes just by having conversation with people. They happen to me
Exactly.
so many times. It's unbelievable.
What happens often on these courses is people who have the products come in, and especially when we do through the language training and so on, it's more than one occasion I've had people come up to me during the breaks and say, it's the weirdest thing. I've been struggling for months, with your DVDs, and I just had a chat with someone in here today, and suddenly it's all coming out. I don't know what happened. Well, I know what happened. They've been primed to the hilt, but as soon as I took the conscious mind away from trying too hard, I gave them something simple to do, it can't help but come out.
I think as soon as you have a conversation with somebody, you relax enough, you go first, then everything just floods back in.
That's why we have the H+. You get the idea of this, guys? Was this useful to you, by the way? Yeah? Any other questions? Over here. Thank you.
Let's see if I can get this phrased well. Pre-vivification,
Yeah.
if you look at what you said before, to get into the mind and bypass the critical mind, pre-vivification is something that you do yourself, like H+, which means that more or less straight away you do bypass the critical mind of the other one.
So pre-vivification is just, pre-vivification is just something you do in order to create a context in someone else's mind. You're priming. When we just talked about priming, in a way, those Florida statements were pre-vivifying old age, although in a very subtle way, right? So pre-vivification itself is not necessarily an H+ thing. H+ is what you do with yourself to get yourself into the hypnosis room, so it's all easy to do. And there's many versions of it. Instant rapport technique is one. The natural rhythm method is another. The personal trance thing was another. So we've dealt with at least 3, but there are more. Then when you do a revivification, you're helping them re-experience an experience they've had themselves, and it lights up, and they can use it as a resource, so you can hijack it, so they can attach it to other things that they're not so good at, and so on, correct? Mm-hmm. A pre-vivification is essentially a revivification of an experience they haven't had yet.
It's not yourself that you're doing it then. It's not that
it's not something you do for yourself, or you guess you can do it for yourself.
No, but that's what we did. Yes, sorry to interrupt, but yesterday with the exercise, as the hypnotist, you did the pre-vivification for yourself, and then you changed it in the you form so that you get the positive mental attitude.
The only reason for doing that was to make the pre-vivification easy for you to do.
Okay.
You see, if you've already got the experience, let's say I love swimming, and I know what loving swimming is like, it's a lot easier for me to give you the experience of loving swimming if I go first and I know what it's like, right? Strictly speaking, it's not necessary, but it's going to be a lot harder if you hate swimming to talk about swimming in a way that you can enjoy it, right? So all pre-vivification is, another way of thinking of it is, have you come across the term or the concept of future memories? I'm giving them a memory of something that hasn't happened yet, right? Now, if I happen to have that memory already inside myself, it's a lot easier because by describing my memory and doing some subtle changes like the I to the U and so on, it'll feel like their memory also. In a sense, they've been primed to respond in a certain way. Now, I'll give you some examples of how this is useful. Some of my students from some good friends of mine now, in the US, they teach firearms training, handgun training. And they teach all kinds of people, including like special forces, the PJ, from the Air Force, the people who jump behind enemy lines to rescue pilots that have crashed. So it's a bit of a risky job, as you can imagine. So they help train those people as well, but they'll train the public too. Now what he does is he gets someone within 5 minutes of never having held a handgun in their life, 5 minutes of walking on the range, they can put 10 bullets through the exact same hole within 5 minutes of walking on the range. Now, it takes them about an hour or so before they get on the range to use conversation hypnosis to pre-vivify the experience enough that the unconscious mind only expects to shoot a certain way. Do you get the idea of this? Do you see how what you have may seem very simple, but you have some very powerful tools? Anyone here shoot handguns? 3 people, 4 people? So that's a pretty good skill to have, isn't it? From 5 minutes of never having touched a handgun, right? Most people don't even hit the target, let alone the same hole, right? I did an interview. It's one of the interviews in the Masters, yeah. So you get the idea of what we're talking about here? Does that help? Any other questions? Stand up.
I was just interested. I can see absolutely the way the Hypnosis Plus is a good tool to influence people in a face-to-face situation. But
yes.
if you need to influence somebody over the telephone, for example, someone in telesales or something like that, how are you able to transfer that? Will you be showing us?
Would you sit down for a second?
Certainly.
And close your eyes. Now consider the possibility that you have an important question in your mind. And there's all kinds of areas in which you want to use it, isn't there? And there's some things that you know how to do and some things you really don't know how to do yet. And yet, you've had a whole bunch of experiences here that have helped you be a great hypnotist. Now, the interesting thing is, you can't see me at all right now. And yet, your breathing is changing, your shoulders are relaxing, and you are starting to feel good, aren't you? How did that happen? Now, of course, if I don't do the H+ quite the same way, you can feel it changing, can't you? How does that happen? It's not just about how you look. Do you understand? You're welcome. Any other questions? All right. Oh, sorry, one more over here.
With the question of the lady of pre-vivification, is that what you do with yourself when you have to speak for a total group and you, shit, it's very difficult, sorry people, but, and then the day before you can imagine yourself on, how I'm doing this,
Yep.
and the next day it will be very natural to do it.
Yep.
Is it something like that?
It's exactly how, that's how you do pre-verifications for yourself, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
I will, before I begin a seminar, I will usually revivify previous seminars because they've gone well, and then I will project that into the future to pre-vivify for myself an expectation of success, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
But then that's something I'm doing for myself. It's no longer conversation hypnosis, it's now going to self-hypnosis, right? Because unless your name is Barry, you don't do conversation hypnosis. I'm teasing, wherever you are, there you go. Go ahead.
I find a very difficult word. Pre-vivification. Is that more or less the same as pre-framing then?
No, we'll come to pre-framing later today, and if the difference hasn't resolved by then, we'll happy to answer that again then. Okay? All right, folks. So what I want to do now is just have a quick review of some important things. First of all, this is just a standard way of looking at pretty much any hypnotic induction process. We spent the last 2 days doing this, but I'd like you, at least your conscious mind, to have a sense that there is a sort of a relative order in terms of what we're trying to do. Technically speaking, or typically speaking, whatever style of hypnosis you engage in, you'll start off with some kind of an induction. the purpose of which is really to bypass the critical factor and access the unconscious mind in some way. That's the ABS formula. Then there'll be some kind of deepener, and really, in my opinion, the induction and deepener are the same thing. I'll explain why. All the deepener does is it makes sure the person stays in the induction, so it's really another induction. It makes sure that the critical factor is more offline than it was before, which is really what the induction has done too, just more of it. And it kind of stabilizes things a bit. Any process that you can use for an induction, you can use for a deepener. Any process you can use for a deepener, you can use for an induction. So if you're ever stuck for a deepener, just do a different induction again. Simple, right? Really, most people spend their time focusing on this step, induction and deepener. Go, what induction do you do? What do you do when someone says this and does that, right? Really, the most important or interesting phase is the suggestion phase, which is why you've done this. Hypnosis is a tool, right? You could have the most glorious toolkit in the world and the toolbox full of shiny hammers and nails and whatever, but if you never use them, well, then you're just a very slightly eccentric collector, right? And finally, the ending of the trance process, we've got to have some kind of way for the person to know it's time to go back into normal reality, right? So in terms of what we've been doing here, the induction and deepening process, well, you've got a whole bunch of stuff here. You've learned how to use the trance signals to either hijack the trance signals or suggest the trance signals or ratify the trance signals, all of which has both induced the trance and deepened it, correct? You've used confirmation or hijacking, which is really the idea of ratification. Let's just use the words we used in this particular seminar, right? Which is really the same sort of idea, but now we're looking with what's already present, and here we're just saying about what could be there but is not there yet. You use your trance themes in order to build up the experience for them, and you use trance experiences, either formal experiences like being in hypnosis, or informal experiences like scuba diving, drumming, and so on, right? So you can use all these things to both bypass the critical factor and get people absorbed in a sort of more hypnotic state. In terms of language you have for that, you've got power words, you've got language softeners. We haven't dealt with hot words yet, but that'll come in time. So really the language that we've been developing based on these two core principles has been really using the language you've been using your whole life to achieve these things, right? Because hypnotic language, other than a few specialty things which really do just, the language, the power words give you the language of conjunction, the language of association, which is how the unconscious reasons, and language softeners give you choices, essentially, right? Other than that, really, you want to use your normal everyday language, because otherwise it's not very conversational, right? In terms of performance elements, which is the thing that really makes all the stuff work, we've really put it all into this idea of H+, the hypnotic room, in which all these skills are easy for you, correct? You learned the value of the hypnotic voice, and really, that's a side effect of being in the hypnosis room, isn't it? Because if you're in the hypnosis room and you use a different tonality, a different rhythm, it kind of kicks you out of the room again, doesn't it? Right? We enhance that quality with the personal trance theme as some kind of soothing experience, a relaxing experience. And you notice that automatically enhanced your hypnotic voice qualities as well, correct? So that was one aspect of the H+. Another aspect of your H+ was developing a natural rhythm. Do you remember that? The rain or the wind or the car sounds or anything like that, right? Then, of course, we had the instant rapport technique, which was just another way of looking at the H+, another aspect of this hypnosis room that we've been developing. There are more than this, of course, but this is a nice, solid core that you can take home, practice, get skilled at, and make natural and automatic. Make sense to you guys? In terms of principles, really working with three core principles, at least what we've been doing here. And these are, in my opinion, the most important principles in hypnosis, but not the only ones. Got the agreement principle, which we primarily put into effect through the yes sets. It's not the only way to do it. We'll be actually expanding on the yes sets later today. We've got the piggyback principle, which is a way of attaching things to a yes set so that things that were improbable start becoming true over time, right? And of course, we've got the authority principle, which is linked in with the idea of H+, and really is the root of having people have faith in your competence in terms of what you're saying, have trust in what you're doing. Make sense? Then we had the idea of the hypnotic laws. These are some of the more important hypnotic laws. The law of association, makes sense now, doesn't it? The law of successive approximations, the law of compounding effect, the law of attention, where attention goes, energy flows, and the law of reverse effect, or depending on which school you've gone to, reversed effect. I've seen it both ways. And again, all those make sense to you now, don't they? Finally, we have the ABS formula, which is not the only way to do hypnosis. There's lots of different definitions of hypnosis. By my experience and the way I tend to work, these are, if you have these three conditions present, you have the hypnotic context that you need, right? So by attempting to achieve these three things, you will automatically achieve a hypnotic condition, a hypnotic potential in the situation that you're in. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? Any questions about any of this? It's quite a lot of stuff you've covered in just 2 days, isn't it? Who feels like they've learned something? Anyone? Okay. Who'd like to learn a little bit more? All right, let's do that then. Okay, what I'd like you to do is, first of all, start off by getting yourself into groups of 10 new people again, please. So off you go. Good. So up to this point, we've had two simple ways of dealing with yes sets, right? You've had simple facts, you know, you're wearing shoes, there's planes, the sky exists, stuff like that. And, you know, not very exciting, not particularly conversational, but they have their place, right? Then we played a bit with the idea of universal experiences, things that we've all had. For example, you've all had a childhood, have you not? If anyone here was born as a full adult, we have a few little strangeness going on there. You know, you've all made friends at some point and maybe lost friends, right? Everyone here has been in love and out of love, right? You've all had good luck and bad luck. You've made money and lost money. You've all bought something that you regretted buying afterwards, etc., etc. These are universal human experiences, right? So what I want you to do right now is just to warm up, is with your partner, I would like for you, how do we do this one? Yeah. Remember the personal trance theme, like something that makes you feel relaxed? So we'll call this H+ personal trance theme, right? I'd like you to use the simple facts and universal experiences, but begin with the personal trance theme as your H+, right? We'll be switching through different styles of H+ as we go along. You get the idea? So you remember something that made you feel relaxed, and then you'll look at the person, and all you're going to do is list facts or universal experience of them. Nothing else is required right now. It's just a warm-up act. Easy? Let's just spend 1 minute apiece doing that. Off you go. How'd it go? Was that fun? Yeah. Interesting? All right. Next round, and we're just going to do a whole bunch of these things just so you can get a whole bunch of different yes sets in there, which are going to be more conversationally useful. The simple facts will fit some situations, but not most, right? If you're a lawyer or an accountant, perhaps, or a medical doctor, simple facts can very well work. In a normal casual conversation, a little less so, right? Universal experiences, well, they tend to fit in most cases, especially if you make them fit the context that you're talking about, correct? For the next round, I want you to focus on the instant rapport technique version of H+. Remember that one? Your pet or your good friend, a non-romantic friendship that was a strong friendship. Feel that, project that. When you have that sense, make the eye contact and keep going, right? For this one, what I want you to focus on is recent events and actions. By recent events, I mean things like this morning you got up, you probably got cleaned. I don't know about that, hence my little probably there, right? Language softener. You probably had breakfast. Some of you may not have done. You came here, you walked through that door, and eventually you sat down in the chair and you got into the groups you're in right now. Those are all recent events, aren't they? Right? And notice how it all fits what we're talking about right now. If I started off today saying, okay guys, so this morning you got up, you probably brushed your teeth or something like that, you got dressed, you came down here, you walked through the door, you sat down, and then after a period of time you end up in the groups you're in right now. Is that correct? So what I'm going to do now is, we'll go to something else. I just got a nice natural yes set that fits the context that we are in. Again, recent events won't fit every context, but it'll fit many. The other one is actions. What have they been doing? It's kind of part of recent events, right? Here's the classic one from hypnotherapy. You've been blinking recently. There you go, right? Some of you are smiling now. A number of you have put on coats because it's cold in the room. Some of you don't care. So these are recent actions that have been going on as well. You get the idea? So they're kind of related to each other, hence I put them in the same thing. Again, I don't really care how good they are, how clumsy they are, how conversational they are. I just want you to get used to doing them. Make sense? Easy? Please focus on the instant rapport technique version of H+ on this round. 1 minute apiece, off you go. So how'd that go? Was that fun? Any questions, comments on that one so far? All right. Next one, I would like you to go with the natural rhythm version. The rain, the sound of the wind, surf, whatever one you like. You can actually select several different types of rhythms as well and cycle through them if you wish. Just keep one for this particular version. Everyone got an idea what they're doing with that? On this round, what I want you to do is to just ratify or hijack something. By ratifying is if you see something they're doing, you can say, that's right, this is going to be more useful initially in overt inductions. You know, that's right, your blinking is going on and your shoulders are relaxing and so on, right? How might you ratify something in a more social context? Go ahead. So I like how you're sitting there. Well, of course, it depends on the context, right? But I'm thinking more in the terms of when you're in a kind of relationship where you have some kind of guiding role. For example, let's say you're a parent or a teacher helping someone do homework, saying, that's right, you're doing that right. That's a good thing there. What do you do here? That's right, the thinking is correct here. So how are you thinking about this? That is also correct. Do you see what I'm saying? Just by finding out how they're thinking, what they're doing, you can actually ratify that. So to a certain extent, do you see how recent event and actions and ratification, they can overlap at points. I'm just pulling out different nuances of similar themes. Make sense? I don't care how clunky or not you do them right now. If you want, you can pretend they're in a context that you want to be using conversation hypnosis in, and then start ratifying things you would do there naturally. Make sense? The other version is to hijack. Remember, hijacking is the same as ratifying. In other words, you're taking something that is has already occurred, but instead of ratifying it and saying you're doing that right, just suggest it, right? You can put this number down there. And they've done it, and you go, that's right, now you've done it. So you can hijack it and then ratify afterwards what they already did, having hijacked it beforehand anyways. You get how that works? So you can have fun with that. Any questions on that one? All right, guys, 1 minute apiece. Remember the natural rhythms on this one. How was that? Was that fun? Did you enjoy that? Some people are having too much fun, but that's okay. Okay, guys. The next one is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little bit of a stretch for you, but it's going to be more fun. What we're going to do is, the yes that we're going to look for is something that a lot of people don't even think about. It's your memories. You've all had thoughts, haven't you? You've all had experience in the past. Now, I know some of the memories you've had are actually really pleasant, aren't they? And you think about all the pleasant memories you've had. Some have been with friends, some have been with family, some have been with you on your own. How many of you are saying yes to me right now? So you can take a whole trip down memory lane. It is related to the universal experiences again, isn't it? Do you notice how all these categories overlap? But I'm looking at different qualities of them just so you have a wider range on how to apply these things. Now, because memories are such an easy one to play with, although it's a lot of fun, I would like you now to put two different styles of H+ together. The personal trance theme and the natural rhythm. Now, you might ask yourself, how do you do that? All you need to do is think of one of them. Let's take the personal trance theme. It's a comfortable, relaxing memory. You can do that now. And you have that feeling to develop inside your body as you recall that, right? And as you have that, you can let that memory, that personal trance theme, recede into the back of your mind, but hover there. Whilst you focus more of your attention on that other memory, on the natural rhythm, the sound of rain, the wind, the surf. So whilst you're still feeling the relaxation of the one, you also begin to have a sense of the rhythm of the other. And you can go between the memories, going from relaxation to rhythm, from rhythm to relaxation, or you can use them both at the same time. I really don't mind how you do it, as long as all that you do in the next minute or so with your partner is remind them of all the kinds of memories that they've had. Off you go. How'd it go? Was that fun? Who feels like, yeah, I'm nostalgic now, all these lovely things. Now, we spent some time together here, and over the last 2 days, you've either learned everything you wanted to, you've learned some of the things you're coming here for, or you may think you haven't learned anything at all, right? Now, it is true that you'll either be successful at this or you won't. Or something in between, of course, right? Now, either you know exactly what I'm doing right now, or you have an inkling, or you have no clue at all. Who's been to spot a pattern here? Who's not? Who thinks they are, but they're not sure? Do you have a sense of what I'm doing here? So crudely speaking, I'm doing something called covering all possibilities, right? This is an Ericksonian thing where basically you suggest basically everything possible. The classic one in hypnosis, either your arm will lift or will stay comfortably right there. What choice do they have? Right? Either way, there's a suggestion that's been accepted, which means the law of compounding effect has been activated, hasn't it? You get the idea? So singing is covering all possibilities is so easy because you're literally covering all possibilities in terms of response. You can do it in terms of over thing. Either your eyes will close in a moment, or it'll take some time, or they'll stay open for the whole trance process, right? The thing is, you either know what's going to happen or you don't. You see where we're going? Your variety is relatively infinite here, right? So in terms of the H+, I'd like you to use all three styles at the same time now. You noticed earlier on, you did the relaxation version, the soothing experience, the personal trance theme, and you put it in the back of your mind, and you felt comfortable, did you not? And with that in the back of your mind sort of hovering around there, you could think of the rainfall or the wind or the sound of surf or anything like that. And that developed kind of a rhythm inside you. You could switch between one and the other or kind of use both at the same time. Would that be fair to say? Is that kind of what you did? Now, if you let that settle somewhere else inside the back of your mind, you can also think of someone you have a special relationship with, a pet, a friend, someone you've been very close to. And you can feel those feelings of friendship. Whilst in the background, you have a sense of a certain rhythm going on and a real comfort, a relaxation. And you can switch between those feelings by switching between the memories, or you can allow all three to arise at the same time, a friendly, rhythmic relaxation. You get the idea? I don't mind which way you do it, but I would like for this next experience to have as much of all of them as you can comfortably do now. Whilst, of course, covering all possibilities, or not. Spend a minute doing that now, please. How was that? Was that fun? So, in a moment you will do an exercise, right? And I suspect you're curious as to what that'll be. I know that you know it'll at least include a version of H+. And I suspect that you will probably guess that you'll have to use one of all three styles of H+ at the same time. Now, I know you've enjoyed some of the exercises you've done so far, which means you're going to really love this particular exercise. The reason is because some of you are already figuring out what it is, and some of you will recognize it once you hear it. The next one is to use something called mind reading and predictions. Mind reading is basically when I purport to know what's going on inside your mind. I know what you're thinking. I know you've enjoyed some exercises. I know you'll enjoy the one coming up. I know you're looking forward to something. Now, with mind reading, I'm taking certain risks, right? Which is sometimes why covering all possibilities is useful to combine with mind reading, but that's something you can do in your own time, I guess. In terms of predictions, predictions don't have to be just mind reading things. They can be any event, but the point is, you pretty much know it's going to happen. I'll give you the classic prediction. In a moment, you're going to blink. That's right. Now, I know some of you are trying hard not to. That's why you will as soon as you forget about it. And you laugh now, but you'll secretly kick yourself for having given in. Which is why you'll know it's really working. You see where we're going with this? Can you have a sense of just the infinite variety and richness that mind reading and predictions allow you to do? Yes? Predictions basically something about the future. It'd be a mind read or a physical event, doesn't matter. Just as long as you know it's going to happen, right? Very, very subtle predictions, very, very useful predictions can be if you spot something about to happen before they're aware of it. For example, if you see that, he's happening, you might start yawning too. If you can see them having a response before they're consciously aware of it, and you predict it, you basically hijacked something before it occurred. Right? You're now a time-traveling hijacker. Do you get the idea of mind reading and predictions? Yes? So use all 3 stars of H+ again, get yourself in the mindset, and off you go. Who's having fun with that? Yes? Who's starting to realize that you have a lot of tools in your yes set now that can actually fit into regular conversations. Much better than just the simple, clunky facts, right? So let's have a check in terms of what we've done so far. Whoop. We went through a whole bunch of things here, but in terms of the yes set training, you've done the simple facts, you've gone through universal experiences, and you've kind of seen how those kind of fit in normal everyday situations, right? You've also started working in different styles of H+, have you not? We went on to recent events and actions, and again, started switching to a different style of H+ again, so you start getting some versatility in terms of how you switch on your H+, and what kind of H+ you switch on, because different ones will be appropriate for different contexts. Then we went on to the idea of ratifying and hijacking it with, again, a different style of H+, and then we started combining them, which was interesting. It took a little bit of a mental leap, did it not, to start combining different styles of H+ simultaneously. But he did it quite adequately, and we went through the whole memory style of the yes set. Then we covered all possibilities, although some of you may not have done. Whilst, of course, yes? Oh, that's the different styles of H+. IR is instant rapport technique. NR is natural rhythm. I'll write them up for you properly if you like. Then you went through all styles of H+, right, whilst covering all possibilities. And that sort of version of all styles of H+ really kind of stuck as your basic theme. You went on to mind reading and predictions and so on. The final kind of yes set that I'd like you guys to do is the one we just did. Because it fits pretty much anywhere, doesn't it? You get the idea? So use all styles of H+, and then just summarize anything that's worth summarizing. All right, guys, spend a minute each doing that now. So how's that, guys? Let's have the mic ready. What kind of experiences do you have? How did that go? Just stand up and we'll get the mic to you.
Yeah, that was really good, going into everything and going in the future, giving a little bit of suggestion. But I want to be careful because I usually give like suggestion and I anchor them. Sometimes there's a word that I want to say, but it just disappears.
Right.
And I get stuck in there wanting to recall it back. I mean, it's in the tip of my tongue, but
right.
I can't recall it. And then I get stuck on what I want to do further.
Well, the reason for that is because you're stuck on a particular way of doing it. If the one word you're looking for isn't there, just use another one.
Just move
right?
on.
Just move on.
Nobody will know.
This is the whole point. This is a very flexible system. If you're stuck on one word, you basically have a very short script inside your mind.
I mean, it's like before I try to do something,
Yeah.
I picture myself doing it on my
Right.
mind, and then I stick to it.
Right.
And sometimes
And
when
that's
I'm
the
doing
problem.
it, I go myself into all of it, and then I tend
So
to fade away.
the purpose of preparing for something isn't so you can duplicate it. It's so you can get the general same outcome, right? Someone who, if a boxer is going to visualize their boxing match, the purpose is not, so he tells the other person, whoa, a second, what are you doing jabbing with your left hand? No. We practiced it in my mind with the right, so come on, start off properly, right? It doesn't work that way. It's a conversation. Things will change. So you're absolutely correct in terms of mentally rehearsing something to prime yourself for something, but then let go. Seriously, just deal with what's there rather than what it isn't. That's why you go blank, because it's no longer there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Stand up.
I really like the last exercise because in previous ones there was some kind of tension. I gotta do this, I gotta do this. But in the last one, I just flowed with this.
Very nice.
And it was natural.
Excellent.
And I can really know that I just hear myself in my head, whoa, that was a memory. Whoa, that was a mind prediction.
Yeah.
And this one, great
Yeah.
stuff.
You'll have a lot of fun with the closing exercise we'll do before the break, so thank you for that. What other things you guys notice or learn? Over here, just stand up, we'll get it to you then. You have to weave your way through.
I just want to say thank you to Karsten. It was, I've always believed that you can't influence unless you've been influenced. So I really had to experience it first. If you remember yesterday, Igor, I asked you about the eye blink. And I actually finally I got to feel it.
Yay.
And there was a moment where I just wanted Karsten to knock me out because I could just feel I was going under, and it was beautiful.
Awesome.
So thank you for that, Karsten. It
Well
was
done.
amazing.
Very glad, guys. Well done. Just stand up. Oh, you can't. I apologize. It's over here, Jakob, the lady in the front here. Just keep your hand up. That way, if he can find you. Or someone next to her stand up so they can stand up for her, please. There you go.
My partner.
Do you just lift her up to your chin?
My partner, Adeline, has been fantastic.
Just lift up to your chin. Sorry, I can hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
She's been absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
She's relaxed me because I'm a very tense person. She's given me the confidence to actually speak.
Yay.
She's given me...
Yeah.
She's reminded me of good memories instead of bad.
Yeah.
And I actually learnt to listen, not to talk.
Awesome.
So I was actually taking in what she was saying.
Awesome.
And I think I've learnt a lot from her.
Fantastic. I'm very glad to hear it. Give them a round of applause for that, guys. Do you see how much leverage you can get out of a very simple tool? I mean, we introduced the yes said right at the start of the first day. And now look how much you've done with it. It's quite a sophisticated tool now, isn't it? And this, by the way, is just a starting point. There is much more besides this, but this is a great set of skills that you can start mastering now, and you'll discover more versions of the yes said as you go along. So please don't think it's the end-all and be-all of it, but it's a good enough thing that'll keep you going for quite some time, right? Any other comments or questions? All right, so what we'll do now is we'll do one final exercise before the break. So for this one, please change partners inside your group briefly. So for the final version of this exercise, I'll leave these up here as best we can. We haven't got the whole lot because it's a longer list. But you know these two already, so I'll just go from recent events downwards, right? What I want you to do is, we're going to give you 2 minutes apiece, 2.5 minutes. This is going to really go long on this one. Again, I'd like to start with the H plus overall. And all I want you to do is just have a little chat with them. Just start with the H plus and just chat about any random topic that you want. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is inside of your casual chat to weave in as many yes sets as seem appropriate. I don't care what they are, how they fit, what else you do with anything. Just have a chat about any topic you wish: horses, sailing, sewing, knitting, lassoing, taping your hand to the wall, whatever you want. And during your 2.5-minute chat, weave in as many yes sets as seems appropriate. Does it make sense to you guys? I don't need anything overtly hypnotic. Just switch on your H+, get your hypnotic gaze locked on, tell them about whatever you want to talk about, and then start collecting yeses. All right, guys? Easy to do? One person with a hand in the air, please. How'd that go, folks? Was that fun? Who found it really easy to get yeses in a normal conversation? Wasn't that something? Yeah? Any comments or questions before we have a break? You stand up? Yeah, do it again.
I think I am saying now something very universal. When I was trying too hard to do it too well, I was blocked. I think most of you were blocked from, oh yes, but what do I have to do? But when we just let it go and just do it, it will flow normally.
Yep.
It was very beautiful.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Just behind you. Just behind you. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to compete with Bruce Lee, but it's great to have very nice subjects around doing everything.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I mean, you can actually feel everything that's happening.
Yeah. And what makes you think he's not a real person?
He is a real person.
Out there's many more.
I can't wait for it. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. Anyone else? Just stand up and we'll get the mic to you. Those over here.
I just wanted to thank Besvik for asking a question earlier, because he said, well, what do you do if I'm stuck for a word? And right in the middle, I started to get stuck, and it came straight into my head.
Yeah.
And it just shows how there's a sort of a circularity.
Yeah.
That, you know, one person asks a question that everybody needs the answer to, maybe at another time.
That's when we have question and answer sessions, right?
Exactly. Thank you.
So thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, it's 35 past. Let's take a 15-minute break. We'll be back here at 1:45. We'll start at 10:02.